This old truck will still be cruising the highway long after that plastic piece of crap 2025 Ford truck you're looking at is long gone. Let's take a look at this thing. It's sweet. This is definitely the golden era of trucks. I don't really care what brand. I don't care. Ford, Chevy, Dodge, whatever. Mid to late 90s, even late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in that range. They got good amenities. They got electronic fuel injection. They're comfortable, AC, heat, all the nice things, but yet it's still meant for doing work. It's meant to haul stuff, not going to the mall or go shopping. This customer has had this car since brand new. It's an elderly gentleman, a very nice customer. We really enjoy doing business with this couple. And he made a comment the other day. He said, I bought this brand new and I will be gone and this thing will still be cruising around. And I said, I know. I can't guarantee that with a 2025 truck though. This is a 1997 Ford F250 with the 5.8 liter. This thing is clean, guys, 138,000 miles on it. And it looks really, really nice. Let's take a look around this thing. It has a nice cowboy front license plate on there, just like this truck. It's back in the old days. These are typical front end, just like you were seeing in any of the late 90s Ford trucks. F-150, 250, 350, didn't matter. They all looked the same pretty much on the front. It's got a really cool kind of a turquoise-ish, what color would you call it, Mrs. Wizard?
Oh, that is very classic 90s turquoise.
Yep, it's beautiful. It's got some nice aluminum wheels that are polished. They're not scratched and dinged up and beat up, with some nice Michelin tires on it. You can see it's F250 heavy duty, no scratches or gouges. And as we come back to the back, you can see, just like so many of the 80s and 90s Ford trucks, it has dual fuel tanks. As you can see, this has definitely been used for work. It's got some scrapes on it and things. I don't know what they were hauling when that happened, but got some gouges on the tailgate. It's got a nice reinforced bumper with a receiver hitch and must have had the towing package when it was new. It's got a few little paint runners in it and some chips and scratches in here, but it's been a long time since I've seen one of these trucks that is this clean. It is super nice. Getting parts for it could be a problem. I'm seeing a lot of parts in the 90s starting to dry up on vehicles. Lately I find I'm having a lot of trouble getting parts for cars, between suppliers having inaccurate supply databases, insanely slow shipping just to get entirely wrong part in a box when it does arrive. Between dealing with all those supplier emails, I find I've been getting a lot of scam emails too. Have you found that to be the case in your inbox? Some of the emails look really convincing. Here's one that Mrs. Wizard got from Apple. It looks pretty authentic, doesn't it? I've even got a few extortion emails claiming they have installed malware on my computer and basically take over my life if I don't pay them. Don't let these scammers waste your time. The sponsor of today's video, Aura, is there to help protect you. Aura will help you remove your personal information from data brokers and people search sites. Those are the people that sell your info to identity thieves, scammers, and more. Plus, they have identity theft protection. They monitor your name, address, and social security number if they appear on the dark web after data breaches. Their financial fraud protection alerts you when your credit file has been compromised, like someone is opening a credit card in your name. Aura provides so many services like antivirus, password management, and VPN, to name a few. And I get all this on one app at one affordable price. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches and brokers. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/carwizard to try 2 weeks for free. That'll be enough time for Aura to find out if any personal data is exposed. Now back to this F250. So let's go ahead and take a look under the hood at this 5.8 liter V8. This is the era where Ford used folded over intakes on the 5.0, the 5.8. It didn't really matter. They had these long tube intakes that always folded over on the passenger side valve cover, which made valve cover gaskets not very fun. But it's still not a huge deal. It's just a little bit more complicated. It seemed like even the 460, the 351, the 302, they always had these twin tube, weird snorkel type intakes on them. But again, it didn't affect the operation of it. One thing you don't see is a mass airflow sensor. These older Ford engines ran off of a speed density setup. They did not use mass airflow calculations. So it's just straight tube from the air filter to the throttle body. Even in the engine bay under the hood, it's very clean and very well taken care of. Remember, this guy's had this since new, since '97, and you can take a look under here and see it's very clean. A lot of the placards and stickers, decals, everything's still intact. A lot of the wiring is stock. It's not been hacked with a bunch of terrible teenage years hackery. Some of these trucks, young people get a hold of them and they treat them very badly and bypass stuff and cut things up. This one has been spared. It is in very, very good shape. So why is it here? It's just here for a possible U-joint issue, also an oil change, and that's it. It's been here several times in the past for other issues we've taken care of for the customer. But what I really like about this customer and why this truck is in such great shape all the way here in 2025 is because when something goes wrong with it, he just says, do it. I want my truck to last. He doesn't even ask for a price. He just says, do it. And this thing shows. It is so nice. Let's let Mrs. Wizard show you guys the interior. It's equally as nice.
So it says 138,785 miles, and this is going to present so well today. I love this very classic Ford gauge cluster. The only thing that's been modernized in the littlest amount is that the odometer is digital rather than an analog one. We do have two lights showing up, and that's just because we are in accessory mode. They're not actually meant to be on when the car is actually driving. But from here, let me go ahead and take my hand away so we can see a little bit brighter. You can see over there to the side, here is where we adjust our rear and front gas tanks. As we move up, this dash is in pristine shape. Now, I'm not so sure why the customer has some glass there. I don't know if it's a protective issue. I'm not exactly sure. And it fits precisely in that very odd trapezoidish style shape there. But as we move down, we do see it's kind of got a putty color. I guess if we could make that a color name, like silly putty. We have our standard Ford radio. We have our very simple to use controls there for our HVAC system. And we have our empty cigarette lighter, or we call that accessory port today. So we pull this out. Also came with another cigarette lighter accessory port there, and look at that. The ashtray has dust. Doesn't even look like it's seen one ash in it in all of its day. So this looks very nice. As we move down, you'll see that this is a 4-speed with overdrive. So this is definitely meant to be a work beast. And below the package of tissues there, you'll see that it does have a brake booster for our tow package as well. So this was meant to haul things for sure. While the floor mats are not stock from Ford, they are definitely protecting this carpet. And this carpet is in such great shape. There's no rips, there's no tears. Everything is in really, really good shape. The seats, it does have a 1-bench seat with an armrest between the two. But the only spot, there's a small little spot there, and there's a small little spot on the driver's seat as well. And that is it. So all these years, this is all that has happened to the cloth seats inside this truck. Door panel is looking really nice. The little lock there for that little triangle window, the vent window, is looking like it's got a little oxidation, but that is it. I mean, that's all I can find. There's nothing wrong with this thing. The headliner, great shape, nothing going on up there, looking perfect. Now, even though the steering wheel is upside down, because we do have to turn rather sharply to get on that lift there in just a second, it is in really nice shape. One thing that has definitely changed from the mid-80s to the mid-90s is that we now have more controls on our steering wheel that we did not have in those earlier years that the Wizard likes so much. So this is presenting so well. I am curious what it looks like on the underneath, and what are we going to find with those U-joints?
First of all, let's get this trolley jack out of the way. And we'll take a look at the rest of the vehicle, not just the U-joints. And we can see up here, looks like maybe the front main seal has the tiniest little seepage. We'll let him know about it, but I don't know that it's worthy of a teardown or anything right at this moment. But other than that, there's no coolant hoses leaking, no radiator leaking, anything going on there. Sway bar link is tight. Nothing loose with the steering linkage. This is the years of twin I-beam suspension. They had that going back all the way to the 60s. It has an I-beam from here to the driver wheel, and then from here to the passenger wheel. It's like a scissor. 2 I-beams is what it's called. They actually are very strong and very good, but these radius bushings here can go out and cause a lot of fore and aft play in the wheel. Luckily these are fine, but it's a very strong suspension setup, very, very heavy duty. It looks like everything's going well. It looks like it's been greased. We're going to grease it again as we're doing an oil change on this one. Let me see here. Brakes have about 70% remaining, they're good. Same thing on the brakes here. Our shock absorber is nice and dry. Sway bar links are not loose. Everything looks really good actually. Here's our oil filter, and as you can see, whenever you drain it from the last time, they probably spilled a little bit there. It'll probably happen again when we do the oil change here in a little bit. Here's our 5-speed, I think that's a ZF5 is what that is, the transmission. Very, very strong transmission, very reliable. So as we come back here to the drive shaft, we can see here's our front fuel tank, which is actually on the driver's side of the engine, and the rear fuel tank is above the spare tire back there. Let me go ahead and check these U-joints. Nothing feels loose, and I actually had Junior Man remove the whole drive shaft, and we checked all the joints individually, and they're great. So the concern he's having is putting it in and back and forth in gear, and it's clunking. And I found the clunk. It's very simple. It is the carrier bearing housing. So in between transition between forward or aft movement, this does this. So you would think the sound you're hearing, it sounds like a U-joint's gone out. In reality, it's just a carrier support. The bearing, the carrier bearing is probably fine, but the carrier support bushing is actually just shrunk. It's either shrunk or worn down. Definitely would make a clunking noise. Even though there's lots of surface rusts, this would be a very easy job. It's not, the bolts and things are not rusty. So now we found what the clunking noise is. It is not a U-joint, luckily. Let's continue on our way back. Here's our beefy, I think this is a 10.5 rear end. Very, very strong, heavy duty. I think they're made by Sterling, I'm not sure. You guys could correct me in the comments. Here is our shocks. They're not leaking any oil. We have good strong drum brakes without any oil or anything leaking from them either. And this truck is longer than our lift. It's hanging out over the side. Luckily the wheels are all safely put up onto the actual lift, but you can see our fuel tank above the spare tire. That's the rear fuel tank. So those are much safer than the 60s for sure, where we had the fuel tank right behind the back seat, although you never really hear about anyone blowing up from it, but it just doesn't seem like it would have been very safe. But if you do need to do a fuel pump or something like that, there's quite a bit more tear down. You have to take the spare tire down, then drop the tank. And a lot of people like to say they like to remove the bed to get to fuel pumps on trucks, and I hate doing that. I won't do it. The reason why is because a lot of the bolts that hold the bed down, one side of the bolt has a nut, the other side just has this kind of a catch in the sheet metal of the bed. And every time you go to take that loose, it never fails. It's old, it's rusted, it breaks and spins, and then you have to get your torch out or your cutting wheel out and cut bolts off, and it just really pisses me off. With the proper equipment, we can have a tank down in an hour and back up. It doesn't need to have the whole bed come off. You don't. Let's get this thing back on the ground. So we don't have to do a bunch of major teardown or anything like this, just a simple repair, an oil change, and it'll be back on the road again. I get a lot of people email me and ask me, how about this 2024 this or 2023 that, a truck or a car? Not only am I not going to know if they're reliable or not because they're still under factory warranty, they're not even coming to this shop because they're still under factory warranty. They're taking it to the dealer to have all the work done. I don't get to hear the stories yet that much of if they're reliable or not. I haven't seen them or worked on them. But what I've been hearing from a lot of friends I have that work in Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Honda dealerships, all kind of different brands, it doesn't really matter the brand. The new stuff, what I'm hearing, is not very good. It's pretty trashy. It's pretty junky. I'll give you a couple instances here. Like here's a 1973 Ford truck. It's a 3/4 ton. $15,000. Here's a 1986 Chevy truck. Also $15,000. Why are these old trucks going for so much money? I can remember trucks like that when I was younger going for $1,500, maybe even $1,000. And now they're worth $15,000. I've seen some for $20,000. And the reason why is because the people out here, the farmers, the construction workers, the industrial workers that just need a good work truck like this, they don't need an Alienware gaming PC for their dash. They just need a truck. And they don't want to spend $95,000 for it either. These things are starting to go up in value because I think people are getting tired of all the plasticky, gimmicky garbage, especially people that really do work for their truck. I've heard that from a lot of friends that are farmers. They're like, I'm scared to take my truck out and feed the hogs because you get all that slop in there and the electronics fry, things go bad, and it could cost 20 grand to go through this whole system of screens and dash and gadgets and gizmos. And I actually have a story of a dealership. I'm not going to mention any names or brands. I don't need any legal trouble. But there was a point where they have 12 lifts in their dealership here just not too long ago. And the brand of trucks that this company sells, every single lift was filled with trucks with their cabs off, having major head gasket problems. These are 2024 trucks, supposed to be brand new. That many people have been inconvenienced. They're just trash. So we can start to see why a lot of these old trucks like this will still be on the road long after that brand new one you just bought is long dead and gone. Because in 20 years, who's going to spend 15 grand to put a new dash in, or new computers, and who's going to program it? So only at Omega do you have a really nice F250 and a really nice 599 Ferrari, both being worked on at the same place. Most shops do one or the other, but not both. But we do both. So we're happy to take care of them. We have technicians here that are experienced and certified to take care of them. But I have one more story I want to share with you. It's actually Crazy D in the office. He has farm equipment he sells on the side outside of the building here. He has a lot of farmer friends. One of his farmer friends has bought John Deere all of their life until recently. They have so many computers and so many subscription-based services. 3 times last year in the middle of planting or in the middle of harvest, the tractor just shut down. One time it shut down because they forgot to get a credit card updated and their subscription service for the GPS service lapsed and they just shut him down. Another time something went wrong with the emission system in the diesel engine and it shut it down. The tractor would not start. He called them and said, we can fix it. It's going to be 6 to 8 weeks before we get the part. And he said, can you bypass it so at least I can get my job done? And they're like, no, it's against the law. We can't just bypass the emissions. And a third time there were solar flares or something going on and it messed up his planting. The GPS was all messed up. He finally had had enough. He came down here to Crazy D. He said, I want to buy 3 tractors from you, and I want them to be old, antique, no electronics, just old tractors. I'm going back to the old way because I'm tired of this brand new garbage. I don't know how it's going to go. I mean, a lot of younger people were willing to put up with it. You know, it's the way it is, but the older generations are really starting to have enough of it. This stuff is starting to sell like hotcakes. And a lot of new trucks are still sitting on the lots. So this truck doesn't need a whole lot of work, but before it left, I wanted to do a video for you guys showing that he made the right choice of buying it brand new and kept it all the way. It will outlast him. Like I said, he's an elderly gentleman. He mentioned to me he doesn't know how many more years he has left. This truck will still be running after he's gone. I can't say that for newer trucks, that it will last that long. I really can't, guys. If you're curious what kind of tools that we are going to use to work on this or any other car in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut if you purchase anything. We really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because we have so many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.